Hey guys, it's Joe here, just to let you know up top that Marvel's podcast miniseries called Wolverine: The Long Night now has all 10 episodes up on Stitcher Premium. Stitcher Premium is the one and only place you can listen to this great show, and it normally costs about $5 a month depending on which subscription plan you choose. But if you use our promo code DUEL, that's DUEL, you get Stitcher Premium one whole month for free. It's totally worth it to check out this show, starring Richard Armitage as Wolverine. You may know Richard Armitage as the head dwarf Thorin in the Hobbit films, or as the Hydra spy who took the cyanide capsule in the Captain America First Avenger film. He sounds great as Wolverine. I'll play a short clip for you.
My memory is a mess. More and more stuff's coming back. Sometimes I wake up naked in the woods with a taste of blood in my mouth, and I think, what have you done? Killing is a sin, isn't it? So I'm a sinner. All right.
So good. I just finished listening to the show and I highly recommend it. It reminds me a lot of Marvel's Netflix shows. It is recommended for mature audiences as well. And the last episode is such a great twist that may merit a re-listen from me. Anyway, kudos to Marvel and Stitcher for creating a great show and creating such a great start to Marvel's podcast universe. Binge it now on Stitcher Premium, and again, use promo code DUEL, D-U-E-L, to get one free month. Okay, on with the show. Hi, welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC. And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe. And in this episode, we are reviewing a direct-to-video animated feature film from DC Comics called Batman Ninja. It was done in anime style. Yeah, it was made entirely in Japan, written by a Japanese writer, and all the character design and direction. It is a full-fledged Japanese production. Yeah, and it's pretty neat. It's pretty unique in that regard. I like it. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it. Before we get into that, though, we're going to give our news breakdown from the newsworthy items that have come out this past week. Yeah, that includes the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer. Yeah. The Teen Titans Go to the Movies trailer. And the Luke Cage Season 2 trailer dropped today. Right. There's also news regarding the DC streaming service, which has been officially titled DC Universe. So we'll talk about that and the shows that are planned for that as well. Yes. Before we get into the news, though, we just want to let you guys know that this Thursday we'll be releasing a bonus episode where we rank the top 10 scores from Marvel and DC films. So go ahead and tune into our Patreon account, where you can find us at patreon.com/dynamicduel. And that top 10 episode with the scores will be archived on June 10th, 2018. So if you want to listen to that, go ahead and sign up for Patreon. Before that, at least for the $2 a month tier. If you get the $5 a month tier, you get access to the entire backlog of bonus episodes that we release. So go ahead and, again, check that out at patreon.com/dynamicduel. And I already know that episode is going to be like my favorite episode. It was a lot of fun. It's only our second episode that we've recorded for the top 10 lists, but I loved talking about the scores. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Like, if I could do a podcast just of that, I would totally do it. Just a reminder, guys, that we have a special number that you can call into us now, and it's 303-736-9963. You can call that and leave a voicemail, and we'll go ahead and answer any questions or comments, or, let us know if you have any ideas for the future of the Marvel or DC universes, whether it be the comics or the movies. Anything you want to talk about, we'll go ahead and talk about it on our bonus episode that comes out at the very end of May 31st. Right. We'll be taking calls up until about May 25th. So if you guys want to drop us a line, go ahead and do that. That'll be fun. Just a reminder that with the Patreon account, we are trying to get to about 25 patrons so that we can start sending out no prizes, which we printed no prizes. Printed no prizes. Physical copies of the no prizes. We think that would be a lot of fun to do. Yeah, as opposed to just a digital JPEG that we post to social media. Right, so. Exactly. Speaking of no prizes, it's no prize time. So a no prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s for fans. It was a blank envelope, essentially. Yeah. Or not, it was an empty envelope. Right. That was sort of the joke that, I said, here's your official no prize on the envelope, and then there was nothing in it. confuse the heck out of people. But our version, the Dynamic Dual No Prize, as we just mentioned, is a digital award that we post to social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that I personally draw up for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. And last week's question was, besides Venom or the Joker, what Marvel or DC villain would you like to see headline their own solo film?
We got a lot of great answers for this. It was actually kind of hard to choose.
Yeah, I definitely had to like establish some criteria for myself to just help decide like which answer I felt was the best.
Yeah, because someone said Darkseid, which we thought was a fantastic idea for a movie, but that's kind of already in production
in the works,
now. Because Ava DuVernay is currently working on a New Gods film, which essentially is kind of
a
Darkseid film, because you'll be addressing it.
You would think it would be. If it wasn't a Darkseid film, it's going to be like a Mr. Miracle film, but Darkseid will probably factor heavily into it.
Right.
Or an Orion film, I guess. So the criteria was like they can't be currently involved in any film that's currently in production. Mm-hmm. I was also looking for a character who kind of, their origin wasn't tied into their hero enemy.
Mm-hmm. Like Venom.
Right. And also one that was an anti-hero, like Venom again, or at least one that was sympathetic. I think that they'll probably take that sympathetic route for the Joker. You know, he was like, picked on and bullied, and it drove him insane. So when you're watching it, you at least want the character to receive some kind of justice.
Yeah. I used a different criteria, but we couldn't decide just one answer. So both Jonathan and I chose a winner of the No Prize, basically.
Right. Who is your winner? Who did you choose?
I want to award the No Prize to Adam Spies, and his answer for the villain that should have their own movie was a DC villain called Crazy Quilt.
Which I was surprised you chose a DC villain.
Yeah, it just, the concept more than the villain was the appeal to me. He stated it, quote, "It should be a mix of drama and comedy where we follow this completely dumb and useless villain around Gotham. And all he wants to do is make Batman notice him, but he's not worthy. So the movie follows this poor sap trying to be bad enough to become a good supervillain." And I like that concept. That's not something that's really been touched on, but I think it's a great concept for a comedic film, where it's this guy who's trying desperately to be a supervillain. Like, he doesn't have aspirations to be a hero. He wants to be the bad guy, and he wants to be good at it, but he's just not very good at being bad. So I like that idea. So that was my pick.
I've never been a big fan of Crazy Quilt as a character. He's kind of, he has like light-based color rainbow powers. I chose Ken Johnson's answer of Bizarro. Now, I know you're going to say, isn't Bizarro's origin tied into Superman? Yes.
And Lex Luthor. Yeah.
And Lex Luthor, yeah. He's, well, not exactly. Well, in the New 52, Lex Luthor is the one who created Bizarro. But I think sort of like the Venom route, not that I necessarily would want to see this, but I think it could be done successfully. If you just have a story about, a clone experiment that went wrong. It's like a modern day Frankenstein kind of story. I've always loved that story, so I think it could totally work. Just, this tragic figure. And in the comics right now, he's sort of an anti-hero partnered with Red Hood.
Oh, really?
So I thought that could really work. I was attracted to that idea.
Interesting. So yeah, congrats to Ken Johnson and Adam Spies again. You guys both win the No Prize for this week. We'll be asking another question of the week later on this episode, and go ahead and write into us, and you may win the No Prize as well.
On to the news.
All right, so fresh off of the release of Avengers Infinity War, like days later, we get the new Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer, and I'm surprised it didn't come out the same day as the release.
To appear before the movie?
Yeah, to appear before the movie. But, I don't know why they did that, honestly, because I would have loved to have seen this trailer before the film, and I'm sure if I go see the movie again, which I will, I'll probably see this trailer before it. But it's a pretty good look at kind of what the story might be a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like this Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer any more than the teaser that we got, where the Wasp was like flipping around the knives and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I preferred that one.
Yeah,
although this one was good.
They had such really cool, iconic moments in that first teaser, and the music just suited it so perfectly.
I feel like this one was trying to be funnier because I had like the bandits kind of group. I think the previous trailer actually kind of told more about the story. He's under house arrest.
Yeah,
he's teaming up with the Wasp for the first time, and he gets to see what she does. This one, I think, touched on the villain a little bit more, It touched on a little bit more of the drama.
Yeah, we got to see a little bit more of the Ghost in action. It's just such a zany concept.
It is.
Especially the way it starts off, where we see Ant-Man using the bed of a semi-truck kind of as like a skateboard or like a scooter type of thing. And he's going after these bad guys who are shooting at him with guns, and he just flicks the guns away. And he just boots the car, and it makes it spiral out of control.
Yeah.
It's great. During this whole action sequence, Scott Lang, Ant-Man, is talking with his daughter, Cassie, and she happens to mention that she really wants to be a superhero and fight bad guys too.
Right, which is interesting.
Which is a nice little nod to her character from the comics, who grows up to be Stature, one of the young Avengers. She ends up taking the Pym particles and her powers to grow in size, just like her father.
And a few weeks ago, we didn't really talk about this on the podcast because it wasn't really that big of news, but Stature, or at least Cassie, an older version of Cassie, has been cast for Avengers 4.
Yeah, we're not sure if Stature is going to appear in the Avengers 4 movie, or if it's just because of a time jump that happens in between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers 4. It would be interesting to have her as Stature, although if she's Stature, does that mean she's going to be fighting crime alongside her dad? Is her dad going to die? Nobody's safe anymore, I feel like, ever since Avengers 4. Like,
It's true.
No, that won't happen.
Speaking of Avengers 4, here's our loosely tied in question of the week. What do you think will be the title of the fourth Avengers film? A lot of reports are guessing that it'll be Avengers Forever, but if you had it your way, what would you like the title to be? Get creative with this one and post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No prize that we'll post to social media. Anyway, I'm surprised we haven't seen anything from Michelle Pfeiffer, because I think she could be a big selling point for this film. She was in the poster that was released to coincide with this trailer.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be in this trailer too. When they announced that it was coming like tomorrow, they had that little promo with all the actors from Infinity War. And I don't know, I think they might be saving her as like a big surprise later on, closer to the release of the film. We do see a little bit of her character in action, though, as the Wasp back in the 60s. It's about midway through the trailer. At first I thought that it was Ant-Man and they had given him wings. But when I slowed the trailer down, it's actually Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym fighting some Cuban communist guy back when they were fighting crime together.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. She's like just as badass as her daughter Hope is. She does like this front flip coming out of the shrunken size. It's pretty cool looking. And she had wings too.
Sweet.
There's a cool clip of the Wasp fighting crime in a car that feels kind of reminiscent of the Deadpool car fight.
Oh, yeah.
But it has its own unique flavor because it involves the shrinking power.
Right.
So she's able to, like shrink in between the guys, and they end up punching themselves, and she grows back and kicks them and
jumps out a window,
goes back
around.
in. Yeah, it's
Looks
just
like it has cool action.
Yeah, amazing action. And, I thought the first one had pretty good action, but Peyton Reed, the director, he's kind of stepped up his game here. Like, I never really thought much of him as a director. I knew he was a competent director. I know that he was once pegged to direct the Fantastic Four film, and now I wish that he did, because I think he's directing action better than Tim Story ever did back when they did that film.
This just continues to sell me on the idea of shrinking as a superpower. Because, DC has their own shrinking hero, the Atom. But, like, it wasn't until the first Ant-Man movie that, like, it really, really sold me.
Yeah, it became viable as an offensive capability.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
As a fighting capability. Just to kind of throw off your opponent. Yeah, they always kind of make fun of Ant-Man and the Atom. And I think it was James Gunn who once wrote a comedy superhero movie called The Specials. And James Gunn actually starred in that film as Minute Man.
That's right. Everyone called him Minute Man.
Yeah. And he was kind of known as like the loser on the team because all he could do was shrink, and he couldn't really help him out that much. And he's like, one time I had to quit the team once because I kind of lost control of my abilities, and I was only able to shrink down to about 3 feet tall. But, being short isn't a superpower. But shrinking, we see here, can be a great offensive superpower. I really like the gags that they use with this. We see that Michael Pena and T.I. and that Dalsmalchin guy.
Dalsmalchin, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot his name in the movie. But they have started their own security company called X-Con. And I think we saw images of their van back in set photos back when they were filming this. But it looks like Hank Pym has to hire them to, get back some equipment or something like that. It looks like he has created equipment that he's using in this building to access the quantum zone, which he's using to search for his missing wife. Janet Van Dyne,
Yeah.
who went into the quantum zone.
Quantum
realm, rather, when she shrunk too small to squeeze between the atoms. Back in the first movie, you guys remember that? And so it looks like it gets stolen by Ghost, and he's hiring these guys to get it back. It seems like that's the mission of the story. It's like another heist, but they're stealing something back that belongs to them initially.
Ghost has a really cool aesthetic.
Isn't it so cool? It's like, it's kind of creepy, but the costume design is fantastic. It's just so unique. She has all like those weird bug eyes, and she has like the white hood. But when she actually phases through things, it's not like Shadowcat or Vision. It's more,
She's like glitching.
Yeah, she's like, she leaves a trail kind of with her movements, but the trail that she leaves, it's not in sync necessarily with her motions. Almost like she's shifting in and out of like space time or something, or the dimension.
It was cool, like when she like jumped through the car and like phased through it and kicked the guy off the motorcycle.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you stop someone like that?
Yeah, that was cool. I forget the actress's name. She does look a little, I don't know, weird when she's like, she may be discovering her powers at this point in the film, but she's like looking at her hands glitch out, and the look on her face is not necessarily one of shock or surprise. It almost just looks like she's high or something. I don't know. Hopefully they go with a different
crazy.
take.
She looks crazy.
Yeah, she might be a little out of it.
Marvel's on this streak of like really good villains with like Killmonger and Thanos. I'm hoping that she's not like an underdeveloped character, because, you know, she hasn't had any speaking lines yet or anything like that, as opposed to like someone like Killmonger, who was, you know, speaking in the first Black Panther trailer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that kind of worries me.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not promoting her as much as they have other villains in previous trailers. I do have a theory, though. My theory is that she's like Bill Foster's daughter.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That'd be interesting. Do you think Bill Foster is going to turn into a bad guy?
In the first trailer, we see Lawrence Fishburne for just a brief second, but he's like staring at the ghost, and he looked concerned, like either because like she was about to hurt him, or he was taken hostage by her, or something like that. But maybe it's more concern for her well-being or something like that. Maybe he's like the super mastermind behind this whole thing, which would suck because I really like Bill Foster as a heroic character. That's just conjecture, though. It may be entirely possible that Lawrence Fishburne's Bill Foster character is not the villain, and that he plays, you know, just a crucial role in helping Hank Pym out.
Well, there is one more villain, and I don't know the character's name. I can only picture the actor's face.
Walt Goggins, or something like
Walter
that.
Goggins? That sounds right.
Walton Goggins.
Walton?
Yeah, Walton Goggins. I think he's just a patsy. I think we're meant to believe that he's maybe like the money and brains behind the whole operation, hiring Ghost and stuff like that. But I think really he's being used by somebody else.
Maybe, yeah. Actually, if you turn out to be right, I'm going to be kind of pissed off.
Really?
We just spoiled the movie for everyone.
It's like, does that make it too predictable?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. A lot of great other gags here where we see an ant playing the drums because apparently they're intelligent like dogs and can be taught things.
Yeah. That
I know that Cassie still has the pet ant, but I didn't know that you could train them.
Don't ants die like after like 3 weeks or something?
Yeah, ants have like
that?
a 2-week lifespan, so
Poor thing.
it kind of makes you feel less bad when you see Ant-Man kind of sacrificing that carpenter ant to the seagull.
Oh, yeah.
He jumps off of it, unless the ant gets out of the way of the seagull's mouth too. We get a quick flash of Hank Pym's Ant-Man character in the quantum realm, and we know it's Hank Pym because he's wearing the Ant-Man mask from the first film, the not as sleek one. I really like the little bit with the salt shaker where the Wasp smacks the salt shaker and then, you know, blasts it with the Pym particles to make it grow and block the door.
Yeah.
Just all the little different nifty things that you could do. That's the main appeal. That's why I'm excited to see it. Plus, I love the actors.
A lot of the jokes really, some of them didn't work for me. Like the Michael Pena in the car, I was like, okay. And then, you know, the last joke with the comparing sizes, I was like, okay.
I laughed at that one. I laughed out loud at that joke.
It's so obvious.
How big did you get? 23 feet. How big did you get? 65 feet.
65 feet.
65. If you guys are done comparing sizes, 65. That's what I would do. I would totally brag about that. Anyway, let's move on to the Teen Titans Go trailer.
Yeah, so I guess this was the first, they're calling this the first official trailer for Teen Titans. Mm-hmm. Starts off with a pretty good joke involving the Titans sitting in a movie theater, and Robin thinks that, you know, there's this big R on the screen. They're finally making a movie about him. We get to see, you know, classic Bruce Timm style Batman, and then the R turns into Alfred. And then
it's time to clean up this city.
And he sweeps the street. It's
a great joke.
Broom. I laughed. I didn't think it was going to be as funny as it was, but
so it looks like the premise of the film is that they want to get a movie made about them since Hollywood is making movies about apparently every superhero and they feel left out.
Robin in the series, he's like obsessed with being perfect. He's obsessed with like living up to Batman and just like, which makes sense because he sort of lives in Batman's shadow. So totally fits with the character of him wanting to be like considered a legit superhero by having his own movie. And apparently they're making movies about everyone. We see posters. There's some great like Easter eggs in this trailer. Like we get to see like Challengers of the Unknown, and there's this one movie poster that's called Detective Chimp in the Case of the Missing Mustache.
Is Detective Chimp a DC Comics character?
Yeah.
He is? Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
And so, we get the joke with Green Lantern having his own movie again. It's just hilarious. There's this one scene, one of my favorite kind of gags in the film is you see Jonah Hex, Steel, and Shazam like laughing at Robin. Like Robin's like on stage and the entire theater is like laughing at him. And it's of course those three characters, have their own film. Well, Shazam will have his own film next year, but I think we're
Steel
just
shouldn't be laughing. That Steel movie was horrible. And I guess the
Jonah Hex
the Jonah
as
Hex
well
movie was horrible too.
We get to hear Superman's voice for the first time, played by Nicolas Cage. Superman's basically saying, "You guys are heroes. You guys don't save the day." They're like, "What about that time we went to that restaurant? You didn't save anybody. We saved room for dessert." I love that part. That was great.
That was fantastic. So I guess the concept of the show is not necessarily, it's not a superhero television show. It's more of like a quirky comedy show that just happens to star superheroes.
It's a kids show. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, they do fight supervillains on occasion, but it's not like they're out there going off and, looking for criminals to stop.
It's more like them trying on hats or something like that, right? Like it's more like a day in the life of a superhero team.
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
That stuff can get really hilarious. I like that as a concept.
The thing that really interests me about this is that, they're definitely calling back old movies, like Steel, like Jonah Hex. Even like Nicolas Cage playing Superman is kind of a call out to the time that he almost was Superman in the Tim Burton film. They mentioned the Green Lantern film. Two of these Titans characters have been in movies. Like Robin has been in a movie.
That's true. And
he's been in two.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to address that Cyborg was in the recent Justice League film.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if that's like the revelation at the end. It's like, Robin, you were in a film. You just don't remember. And those films sucked.
And then Chris O'Donnell walks onto the screen and it's like, hey.
I wonder. It just seems odd that they're calling out these films and, with all these posters and stuff like that. There's one poster that's like Batman v Joker, Yawn of Justice.
Yeah,
which
that's kind of hilarious.
Damn it, why are you guys doing that? Stop doing that.
Stop being so self-deprecating.
That was Deadpool's joke anyway.
They should comment that the characters on the Teen Titans who have yet to be in a film are actually getting their own live-action versions of themselves on the DC Universe app later on this year.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to come out before or after this movie, because this movie comes out in July, I believe. So, and we still don't know when that's coming out. But I think the greatest gag in this whole trailer is that they introduced the villain of the film, which is Deathstroke, but they confuse him with Deadpool. And his reaction is hilarious. Like, I always love just like the facial and like the body language of the characters. It's like one of the big highlights of this series.
Of the animation, yeah.
Yeah. And he's just like, Deadpool? What? First of all, he should be saying he's not me, because I came out way before him. It was such a great gag.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Deadpool actually was based off of Deathstroke. Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson, and Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson. And it's kind of a case of the ripoff kind of outshining the old version.
Right. It's funny. It's a great call out to fans of the comic who are aware of that.
It's kind of a great way for DC to kind of make this appeal to fans of Marvel, saying that if you like Marvel, a lot of their characters were based off of our characters.
Yeah.
So you'll enjoy DC too.
Yeah.
The best way to do that is kind of like through this whining character in a comedy cartoon film. I think it's kind of brilliant, honestly.
I was kind of surprised that they went with him as the villain, because they just introduced him at the end of Justice League. So to have him in here and there, I thought it was interesting.
Well, maybe more people kind of recognize him now since he was in the post-credit scene of Justice League.
In the Titans cartoon, they called him Slade.
Why?
I don't know. I think they thought that was cooler than Deathstroke. Or maybe Deathstroke was just a little bit too intense for a children's show.
Not kiddie enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're calling him Slade again in this version, because I don't think Deathstroke has appeared in the Teen Titans Go series. If he did, it was just like a cameo. He didn't have like a speaking role.
Oh, really?
I think. I could
So
be wrong.
this is kind of like their first time meeting, so that's why they're confusing him for Deadpool.
Right.
That's why, he doesn't want to fight them because he considers them sidekicks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was an interesting line where he's like 4 sidekicks and half a robot. Yeah. That was funny.
It looks like he gets a hold of like this mind control gem that controls the rest of Earth's heroes.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna control people who are watching a movie. So that's interesting.
Oh.
Because it looks like, to me, like they're all in like a theater and he's like popping out of the screen, hypnotizing them or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is, it seems like it fits in with the story.
Yeah, with the themes. Yeah.
There's also this gag where the Atom, and it sounds like it's voiced by Bill Hader.
Yeah.
He's like, stop for the mighty Atom, then smack. It's like when you think of shrinking powers, that's typically what you think of,
If this were Ant-Man, he would have gone right through that windshield.
But then they just like try and wipe him off with the windshield wipers, and Adam's like, ah. It's funny. The trailer has a pretty good soundtrack, I thought.
Yeah, it's a good
It has a good beat. I thought this was a fantastic trailer.
What was the inside joke reference to the waffles at the end? Because at the end we see like Mecha Slade.
Yeah.
And he's talking to the Titans and he's like, what are you guys going to do? Fart on me? Dance off? The dance off thing I think was in reference to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But he also said, annoy me with your waffles.
Yeah.
What's that mean? What were the waffles?
Well, there was an episode where the only thing Beast Boy and Cyborg said was the word waffles, and it just annoyed everybody. No one understood why it was happening. They got captured by Brother Blood, and they were doing it to him, and he was getting frustrated. It was just annoying everybody. So I think that was a call out to the episode. You sort of have to be a fan of the show to understand all these references, but I think the audience members that they're going after are fans of the show. And I know there's like a ton of people who hate this show.
But it's funny.
It's funny. I can't help but laugh. It's hard not to sit with my daughters who really enjoy the show and just laugh with them because it is funny. I know a lot of people liked the previous show because it was like action packed and stuff like that, but I can't help but not enjoy this.
Yeah, and fans of that old show, they'll be getting the Young Justice show later on this year.
Yeah, which is a perfect segue. So DC has unveiled the streaming service. It's called DC Universe.
Yep.
And they gave out title cards for the first 4 shows.
Well, first off, what do you think of the name DC Universe for their streaming app?
I think it's not the best choice.
I thought they were going to go with DC TV or something. Or maybe that's already taken by another network or something.
DC Universe is something that they're really plugging in the comic books right now. So like on the comic covers, when you have the DC logo in the upper left-hand corner, it says, like Universe underneath that. Then it has like the logo of whatever category this comic fits in, whether it's Justice League or it's a Batman family title or a Superman family title. They're using the term universe a lot, which I find interesting. I personally think it's going to be confusing for fans of the comic because when I talk about the DC universe, I'm typically talking about, like the world of DC Comics. I'm not talking about the streaming service, right? So now I'm going to have to clarify. No. I mean the streaming service, Yeah. The logo isn't bad, though. I mean, I think the logo works. We were doing this podcast when DC Comics switched to the logo. From
the fold-over logo to the new iconic... Right. I like the new logo, and I think it shows how versatile it is when you're able to rotate it and put the word universe under it, and it still holds its weight. It's
still distinctly, DC. It's a great logo. The other show's logos, we knew about Titans.
Yeah, great logo.
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of graffiti-like.
Yeah.
And then we have Young Justice Outsiders, which, is just carries on that same Young Justice logo from previous seasons.
Yeah, same branding.
And then we have the Harley Quinn title card, which I don't think we've talked about that show.
No.
I think that was announced in November. Mm-hmm. It was the 3rd greenlit show for the DC Universe streaming service. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that a lot. I think we've only seen like one image of it so far, but it looks like it's more like Archer as compared to like anything in the Bruce Timm style, Oh,
that's right. It's an animated show.
Yeah, it's supposed to be mature.
Okay.
So I'm expecting good things from this. Harley Quinn is insanely popular. So I think a lot of people will
Too
watch
popular,
this.
In my opinion, but you guys all know my opinion from previous episodes.
Yeah, actually, interestingly enough, this past weekend during Free Comic Book Day, Joseph and I, we had a booth at Mile High Comics, their big warehouse here in Denver. And we were handing out business cards with our podcast episode covers on them. And we only had like 8 of each card.
Yeah.
for each episode.
Yeah.
But the one that went the fastest, the one that
we ran out
people-
of first.
Yeah, was the Harley Quinn Domino episode card, which was surprising to me. I thought it would have been like Batman, but no, it was Harley Quinn.
Well, I think it was mostly the girls. They almost always went for the Harley Quinn card.
Yeah. And I guess Jim Lee has said like Harley Quinn is the fourth pillar of DC Comics, behind Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Really?
She sells insanely well, really well. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Interesting.
Looking forward to that cartoon for sure. And the fourth show was actually sort of like a surprise reveal. I guess they're doing a Swamp Thing live action series that's being produced by James Wan, the director of Aquaman.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. The pilot is going to revolve around Abby Arcane, who's I think is going to be the daughter of Anton Arcane, who's Swamp Thing's villain.
Okay.
It sounds like it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to have a horror element to it, it seems like, which is fantastic.
I heard that the writers on the show were the writers from the It film and Daredevil.
What?
Netflix. Those are the two writers. The guys that write Daredevil, Netflix, and It are the writers on this show.
I hadn't heard that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh my
talent.
gosh, come out already. Oh, we know that's not coming out until next year.
So
Or at
I
least they announced that it wasn't coming out until 2019, which is super surprising because are there only going to be 3 shows on this service?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to have unoriginal content on there.
Yeah.
Or like previous content from
like Super Friend cartoons or something
Smallville
like that.
or something like that.
Smallville. You could, maybe have like the CW shows, like the old seasons of that. I'm really wondering how much they're going to charge for it. Because essentially you're going to be paying for 3 new shows. If it's going to be something like $10, that seems like it's going to be a lot.
Well, yeah, $10 is about what Hulu and Netflix costs per month.
Yeah, and that's a lot more than just 3 shows.
If it is $10, are you going to be paying that?
I will, but my wife's going to be really upset with me. So
What's the price point you want to see?
for 3 shows,
Besides free.
I don't know. I would say the most I would be like comfortable paying would be $5 a month max.
Yeah.
Again, I would pay the $10 because I have to see these shows, but
Like you would complain about anything higher than that.
absolutely, yeah, totally. We'll see. We still don't have a release date for this, but we hadn't heard anything about it for a while, so I'm excited and glad that we finally got something.
You want to make a wager on when it'll come out? Make it interesting?
No, I don't.
I'm going to bet that it's not going to come out until Q4 of 2018.
Don't tell me that. That may not be a bad guess just because we know that Swamp Thing is coming out so late.
Yeah.
The later they delay this release.
The more content they'll have.
Right. Exactly. But if it is Q4, we're not going to get trailers for anything until probably like October.
Yeah, a few months.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
The next season of Luke Cage comes out in July, I want to say.
And we just got our first trailer
2 months
now.
out. Yeah, so if it comes out Q4, that'll be around October, which means we won't see any trailers until about August.
Or maybe we'll get it for Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's when it'll come out. All those trailers.
Yeah,
for
almost
sure.
guaranteed.
Yeah. Should have saw that. But speaking of Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage today released their first official trailer for season 2. And, I was a big fan of season 1, even though the last half of that first season was uneven. I liked Cottonmouth so much more as a villain than Diamondback, who I think is the Marvel Netflix's worst villain so far.
Yeah.
I always keep thinking that they're tapping into the Serpent Society for these villains, because if you remember back in the day when we were discussing
The Defenders?
Luke Cage season 1, and I said that the villain was going to be Cottonmouth, I thought it was going to be the Serpent Society Cottonmouth. And when we had mentioned that the other villain was going to be Diamondback, I thought it was going to be the Serpent Society's Diamondback. The Serpent Society being a group of supervillains in the Marvel Universe that are all snake-themed, named after snakes. And so when they said that they were going to go with Bushmaster for the villain of Season 2, I was like, oh, the Serpent Society Bushmaster. Because there's 2 Bushmasters, too.
That's annoying.
Yeah, just like how there were 2 Cottonmouths and how there were 2 Diamondbacks. So the Bushmaster, I thought it was gonna be the guy with the snake tail for the lower half of his body, which makes him like really fast, and he could coil people up with it, which makes him strong. And he has like these claws, like Wolverine almost, but if he hits you, you get injected with poison, basically. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about him because he's not the Bushmaster that's gonna be in this. The original Bushmaster was a Luke Cage villain, more of a Misty Knight villain as well, who actually underwent the same process that Luke Cage did by Professor Burstein.
Really?
Yeah. And so he was kind of his like dark mirror villain.
I always thought Bushmaster was a Moon Knight villain.
No, that's Bushman.
Oh, gosh. So dumb. All right.
But in this trailer, it looks like Bushmaster almost has like a ceremonial
Supernatural kind of-
cause to his powers. Maybe like
Like an occult kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
there's this really awkward scene in the trailer where like he's like sitting naked in a ring of fire. And it looks like he's doing something that I don't want to see.
Yeah, he's doing some kind of like supernatural curse or something and it's giving him invulnerability and strength, and he uses that strength on Luke Cage while Luke Cage is like at the top of his game in Harlem. He's being looked up to by the kids, he's being admired by the women. It looks like at the very start of this trailer he's putting on maybe a commercial for
Heroes for Hire, maybe?
Maybe it's for himself, or maybe it's for a furniture company, because he's in a truck and the truck explodes and the sign on the truck says Merlin Discount Furniture. So I'm actually thinking he's putting on a commercial for that business, and he's getting paid to do it.
Maybe. I would be surprised if that was the case. I think it's Heroes for Hire, or his own version of it, like a precursor to it, but who knows. This trailer was a great setup, because you see how revered he is in the Harlem community at the beginning, and you're right. The women love him, and the bad guys are afraid of him, and he's really putting his name out there. And then all of a sudden, Bushmaster.
Yeah, some guy who can take him down a peg. It looks like Black Mariah is back, and I don't know if she's the one that hires Bushmaster, but she still has that Biggie painting up in Cottonmouth's old office. So the club is still around.
Yeah.
It looks like we see Shades. He's still around.
Ugh, I hate Shades.
I love to hate Shades.
I hate to hate Shades.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he's a great villain. He was one of the more charismatic villains from season 1, and I'm glad that he kind of stuck around. Hope he gets his comeuppance in this second season. Not too much else to talk about. Oh, we do see the guy who played the dad of Johnny Storm and Sue Storm in the Four Stick movie, the Fantastic Four movie.
The one
Fox.
I never saw. I never saw that.
He played their dad. He recently died like a couple months ago. I can't remember his name. Reggie something, I think. But he plays a reverend in the show. And I saw on Mike Coulter's Instagram that he was really upset by this, and he paid respects to the Reggie actor on there. I had no idea that the actor was going to be on Luke Cage season 2. But yeah, it looks like he plays a prominent role. So he's in the show. Bobby Fish is back in the show. And Misty Knight is back in the show.
Right.
And
she has a bionic arm now.
She has a bionic arm now.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping it does something else than just be a prosthetic for her. We see blueprints about 3/4 of the way through this trailer of what looks like an even more advanced arm. So I'd like to see her.
I thought it looked like blueprints of the exact arm that she got on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Lame. I'd like to see her have a more advanced arm.
I'm sure she will. I'm guessing that Rent Enterprises probably develops the arm for her.
Well, that's what they implied at the end of the Defenders show. So.
Oh, yeah.
Do you not remember that?
I do not remember that. Anything else about this trailer?
Not really. I'm excited that they're going to have those musical appearances again. We saw a few of the acts here.
Yeah.
I don't recognize any of the musicians, but that was one of the best things about the first season was...
Yeah, for sure. The music.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it, but I am looking forward a lot to this upcoming season. According to, reading Mike Coulter's social media and stuff, they really recognize where they went wrong with the first season. Mm-hmm. In that second half of that first season, they have a better idea of how to handle this season. And I trust them because I think the way they handled the pacing of Jessica Jones season 2 goes to show that they kind of learned exactly how to nail these 13 episode seasons. So.
Yeah, those well done for sure.
All right, I think that does it for all the news.
All right, yeah, let's get into the Batman Ninja review. So I'll start by saying that I'm not a big anime geek. I appreciate the genre, and I think the animation style is really cool, but I own one anime, Ghost in the Shell, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. I would say my favorite animes are probably Akira and Neon Genesis Evangelion and Miyazaki's films, But like I've never seen Cowboy Bebop or Full Metal Alchemist or anything hardcore anime fans like rave about.
Yeah.
You know?
We should.
Yeah.
Just haven't got around to it.
Like my favorite animes are sort of like, it's more about like the story ideas that are just like mind blowing because like I've never like even thought about some animes can get like really philosophical and I've like totally been mind fucked by a few of them. So now we have seen Batman anime before. If you remember Batman Gotham Knight, it was a series of animated shorts that were meant to coincide with the Christopher Nolan Batman films.
Right, yeah.
Only the animation was Japanese, though. The shorts were written by comic writers like David S. Goyer, Brian Azzarello, and Greg Rucka.
Yeah, that was pretty good, too.
They weren't bad.
Yeah.
I don't remember being, like, too impressed, but they weren't bad.
Deadshot was in one of them, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really care for the character design of Deadshot.
Oh.
But those were... I don't know if we'll ever review that, but it was written by Westerners for a Western audience. Batman Ninja was not.
Absolutely not.
We know this because the original Japanese language version of the film, written by Kazuki Nakashima, is very different from the dubbed English version. The movie was rewritten for Western audiences by writers Leo Chu and Eric Garcia. Nakashima and the director Junpei Mizusaki have said in Batman Ninja special features that they were not interested in telling a Western story with Batman in Gotham City, but wanted to bring Batman to their country during a time period that was interesting to them and tell
Japan.
Tell a story that they wanted to tell. And DC was very hands-off on this project and let the Japanese creators create something that I personally enjoyed, but I know that fans across the internet think is like the worst thing that has ever been made. Like so bad they can't even finish the film.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it. I respect it, for sure. I think that what they did here technically and animation-wise is spectacular, but I think maybe they didn't have enough time to develop the story, and the story did take some turns that I wish it didn't.
I think they told exactly the story they wanted to tell. I don't think they had ever had any intention of it's a simple story. It's a very simple story. I don't think they had any intention of telling something complex. They just wanted to tell a story that they wanted to tell. And I think East Asian stories, I think, don't require as much dialogue, as much, like hand-holding as Western stories do, because we approach stories so logically, I think. I think most of the people who don't like this film saw the English dubbed version, which I have to admit is a far inferior version to the original Japanese audio. When you watch the film, you only saw the Japanese subtitled version.
Right.
And there's a reason for that.
Well, usually they always say that subs are better than dubs, right?
Yeah, there's that debate. I only wanted to show you that version, the Japanese version, because I wanted you to actually like the film.
Honestly, when it comes to that whole debate, though, when I find myself watching anime, I do watch the dubs more often than not, just because the art is so spectacular. I find that when I have to read lots of dialogue, I find myself missing a lot of the details.
I can see that
in the artwork.
And that's a good argument for dubbing.
Although, the quality of the voices is often inferior, but I prefer to notice the artwork more than I do when I watch subs.
Yeah, there is a lot more dialogue in the English version. There were added story elements in the dialogue, and the voice acting of the English version were approached, I think, with good intentions. But after seeing the original version, you realize how unnecessary all of the added elements were. They kind of come across as really annoying. And I think it would still be annoying even if you hadn't seen the Japanese version. The voice acting is not the worst. You have Tara Strong as Harley Quinn. She did a fantastic job. Tony Hale actually did the voice of the Joker in the English version. He was in Arrested Development. He's a comedic actor. I didn't know it was Tony Hale until after I saw the film. But if you would have told me that beforehand, if I would have learned that beforehand, I would have been so excited. But really, I don't think his Joker voice tries to be like over the top, but it's just a little too high pitched, a little too whiny.
Is it like Mark Hamill's?
It tries to be like Mark Hamill's, except it's not as sinister. It's high pitched and whiny and annoying to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if other people thought that. In fact, I've seen a few comments stating as such.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the film where Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle are disguised as Christian missionaries in Lord Joker's city. Bruce has this monk-styled shaved head called a tonsure that includes a bat symbol.
Yes.
When you watch the Japanese version, you notice it and dismiss it as a cool element of the character's design.
I think it's more tongue-in-cheek element.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I thought it was great design. In the English version, though, in the dialogue, Selena makes note of the Bat Tonsure. And it becomes this thing that Bruce added to his disguise for some unknown reason that falls apart under any logical scrutiny. Mm-hmm. By calling it out in the story, it becomes something that needs to be rationalized instead of merely just admired and this cool design element. And it's elements like that kind of ruined the English dub for me.
Yeah. I haven't seen the dub. I've only seen the subtitle version. And having that not explained and just written off as just kind of like, a stylistic choice did not sit well with me.
I'm sure it bothers you, but again,
I wanted it to be addressed.
I think it's just sort of the Western mindset that like we want those things explained.
Yeah.
I think it's just sort of generally more accepted.
I think it had a little bit to do with the excessive nature of the artwork. I think the character designs themselves were extraordinary.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But they veered on the edge of being over-designed.
I didn't think that. I liked it. I think that's sort of how he was able to get away with that. And why I just kind of accepted it as I was watching it because, the designs were so detailed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, perhaps.
I liked it.
What did you think of the animation style? It's not traditional anime.
It's not hand-drawn.
Animation. It's not hand-drawn.
I'm sure some of the backgrounds were, but like the characters themselves, I think for the most part, and maybe like there were a few frames where it was hand-drawn, but it was
computer animation rendered to look like anime art. So like
it was painted like anime.
A lot of the facial and body movements were a little bit more stiff than they would have been if they were traditionally animated. I think that kind of took me out of it.
It took me out of it like once. Yeah. But the rest of it, like, I don't think they moved nearly as bad as some people are complaining about. Like, I've seen bad anime that was like 3D anime that looks like it was like part of a video game, and it was just really bad. This was not that. This was really good, I think, high quality animation, especially when you compare it to something like Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, the previous DC film that we reviewed.
Yeah, that's true.
This is leaps and bounds above any of that. In fact, I would say this is like the best Batman animation I've ever seen. I can't think of anything that matched the quality that this had.
In terms of visual impact, yes.
Yeah.
As far as the best Batman animated movie, I actually think it comes behind Batman the Red Hood and also Mask of the Phantasm.
But visually,
visually,
this was not Bruce Timm style. This was above Bruce Timm style, I think, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And, back to the subs and dubs, I've never really been on either side of that debate until I watched this film. I would say if you're going to watch it, watch the original Japanese audio with subtitles. And if you don't like reading subtitles, maybe don't watch this film.
Maybe learn Japanese.
Or learn Japanese. This is not a story, I think, that is meant to be rationalized. It has giant robot palaces fighting a massive swarm of armored monkeys, like stacked in the shape of a Funko Pop doll.
Monkeys mixed with bats,
right,
forming the shape of Batman.
This story, has so many Japanese tropes that it's meant to be simply enjoyed, I think, for the experience.
Yeah.
Thematically, I think the film deals a lot with the evils of technology and sort of like a call to a return to nature. Mm-hmm. Batman's villains, they all have 21st century power converters to transform and power their palaces into these giant robots.
Yeah, and they're introducing technology into the time era in which that technology did not exist.
Which is sort of part of the dilemma of the film.
Yeah, I went in wanting a more traditional ninja story without any sort of the technology that they have, in the modern era. Mm-hmm. And that's really not what we got. Like, I wanted it to take place entirely in this traditional Japanese setting.
Did you even want, did you want a time travel story, or did you just want Bruce Wayne to exist in feudal Japan?
No, I wanted a time travel story. I just didn't want any 21st century technology in it.
I like the way they did it. I like the way the time machine went back in time with them, and those power cells, the batteries that powered that went back. Well, yeah,
they needed the machine to go back so they could get back to the 21st century. But, how did the villains know how to create guns? Were they just that well versed in
Gorilla Grodd
engineering?
Was manipulating them.
Oh, that's true, huh?
Yeah. But, thematically, also Batman's tech is destroyed early on, and he realizes during the course of the film that he has to rely on these ancient methods to overcome his adversaries.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the story breakdown, but that was one of my favorite scenes of the film.
Yeah. And even early on, the Joker's deforestation and the early fight with Batman shows that he doesn't care about nature. And I think it's this a great Eastern philosophical theme, that's sort of saying hey, nature is more important than technology.
Right.
There are also themes about honor and betrayal. There are so many betrayals in this film.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on those in the plot breakdown as well. Mm-hmm. Character-wise, there's a ton of characters in the story, but I think character-wise the movie is fairly weak. There's no development you have to know who the characters are before you see the film.
Yeah, there's no development on any of the Bat family, really.
No.
It's mainly just a
villains.
Batman and Joker and Gorilla Grodd story.
Yeah, you could argue that there were only 2, maybe 4 strong characters that really mattered, and pretty much everyone else were like interchangeable background characters.
But not in the same way that like Infinity War had a ton of characters. Like Infinity War had dozens of characters, but they were all used in a way that made you care about them in that film.
Yeah.
In this film, a lot of the characters take a back seat to 3 or 4 prominent characters.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people were watching this film and were like, "Who the heck is Red Robin?"
Yeah,
I don't think too many
so
people.
Robin
knew who that
was
is.
Damian Wayne. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
In this movie, and he's the son of Catwoman and Batman.
No, he's the son of Talia al Ghul.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was way off.
Yeah. The strong characters, I think, were Batman, Joker, maybe Catwoman, maybe Gorilla Grodd. Let's start with Batman.
Okay.
So, this whole story for Batman is, he's a fish out of water.
Yeah.
He showed up 2 years later than most of the others, so he had to adapt faster without technology. He understands that the villains don't care about the timeline and that he's partially responsible for sending them there. Gorilla Grodd basically tells him that through his interference. But by the end of the film, he's embraced the ancient ways of the ninja and tapped into his inner self to develop a jutsu, surprisingly.
Yeah, which is a magical ninja move.
Yeah, I think the term comes from Naruto.
Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't familiar with it until one of our listeners pointed it out to us on Patreon.
Mark1684, he was like, "Oh, Batman used a jutsu." I was like, "Oh, I know that word. Let me look it up real quick." Yeah. But yeah, it's like a mystical ninja attack.
Yeah, technique. Yeah.
I thought the character of Batman was a little bit bland in this movie.
Yeah.
He was kind of like your blank slate, static tabula rasa hero. He did have a good relationship with Alfred, though, that I thought was pretty charming.
Yeah.
How like he discovers that Alfred came back in time with everybody else, and how he's always like trying to prepare him 21st century food and stuff like that. And that was a great relationship. I found his relationship with the other members of the Bat family to be kind of lacking, honestly. They didn't have a whole lot of time together.
Yeah, they never established that the Robin was Damian Wayne. It's all these things that if you're a fan of the comics, you know the significance of these characters, but otherwise, if you're new to this universe, to these characters, you're not going to go
I can imagine
appreciating the film as much as if you did.
That would just be horrible if you didn't know who the characters were. Like, there's a scene when you're first introduced to Red Hood in this story, you don't know who he is. He has this weird mask that looks nothing like from the comics anyway. But although it is a great adaptation, and I did love his character in this film, but like, say you don't know who any of these characters are, you're just like, who the hell is that guy? What is happening?
You're going to be like, oh, geez, why is he beating up, the Joker so badly?
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the character of Jason Todd and understand that the Joker killed him, you understand the rage he has against the Joker.
Right.
And you just appreciate it that much more.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Joker, he's I would say the second biggest character of the film.
He's the best character of the film.
Yeah. Of all the villains that became feudal lords, he was the closest to creating a unified Japan under his rule.
Yeah. He's interesting. I love how brilliant they made him in this. He had a very intelligent plan. Strategically, it was a brilliant plan. They also made him a great physical threat. So he kind of had it all going for him.
He was a great match for Batman every step of the way throughout the film.
Yeah, mentally, physically.
Yeah. He didn't care about ruling. I don't think he spent 2 years essentially planning for Batman's every move. One Batman did show up, which pays off when he almost destroys him at the beginning of the film, destroys his technology.
Yeah.
His tenacity to get Batman is so intense, it's suicidal, when he's on the ship and he's willing to blow himself up and Batman and Harley Quinn just to get to Batman.
Yeah. Crazy.
And then he has, the great moment in the middle of the film when they introduce the Red Hood, and it's that really, really like painterly animation style. He plays the ultimate joke on Batman by convincing him that he was, a good, changed man.
Yeah.
And it's so well done.
That's probably my favorite part of the whole movie. That kind of mid-intermission, hand-drawn section.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a beautiful Japanese
painting.
Yeah, painting. Like an old fable.
And it's intense. It's intense.
It is. Yeah. Because you think that, Red Hood is going to blow Joker's brains out, and then it looks like he does, the way they show the animation.
Yeah.
And which is in a way hyper violent, but then it turns out that, he shot next to him. He shot some like bush or something like that. I don't know what it was.
I don't know if Batman like moved his arm. I think he did.
Yeah, something like that. He intervened.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Just a great character throughout the film and funny in a lot of moments.
Yeah.
So Catwoman, she just sort of is an expository character in this film. She sets up the world for Batman, guiding him through the time period and making him aware of the stakes at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then again, she's unique in that she's willing to side with anyone just to get back home, whether it's Batman or the villains.
Right.
If she sees that the villains are having the edge, she sides with them. Another example of the betrayals that go on throughout this film.
Yeah.
Gorilla Grodd, he's the catalyst for the story. He wanted to test his Timequake device by sending the Arkham villains across time and space. But because of Batman's interference, he led them to feudal Japan. And I thought it was really interesting the way they revealed that he was the one who mentally influenced the villains with plans to create a nation ruled by apes.
He even said, I want to create a planet of apes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, just like that one movie. What's it called? Planet of the Apes? No, that's not it.
He betrays so many characters in this film. But, he shows by the end that he does have this honor about him, unlike Batman's villains. Because
Gorilla Grodd is typically a Flash villain. Yes?
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. When he saves the Bat team for saving his life, he does stay true to his word.
Would Batman have even won this fight if he didn't have Gorilla Grodd's flute that controls the monkeys?
No, I don't think he would have. I think he was out of his element there. But no, yeah, the Flash villains, they do have an honor about them. They're definitely less, they're not Batman's villains, let's say that. Mm-hmm. They're not as deranged and twisted and maniacal and evil as Batman's villains, I think. So the rest of the characters, on Batman's side, you have Alfred, Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, and Robin. And they were great allies in helping Bruce adapt to the time period.
This is maybe a dumb question, but is Tim Drake officially Red Robin now? Is he no longer going to be Robin? Is he always going to be Red Robin now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Robin in the comics is
officially Damian
Wayne. Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to reflect in shows like Teen Titans. Because in Teen Titans Go,
it's Dick Grayson.
It is Dick Grayson?
Yeah.
Oh, the original Robin. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, I think that's the case. So I think Red Hood, out of all of them, Red Hood probably has the coolest look. He wears this red basket. It's a cool character design, and I guess it's based off of old Japanese feudal monks who would wear baskets like that.
Yeah, that was a really cool look.
It was interesting, for sure. An interesting tidbit is that Robin's hair, Damian Wayne, is, he has this shaved head kind of look going on.
Yeah, male pattern baldness kind of look.
Yeah, but his hair is actually based off one of the title characters in the influential Japanese work Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
so it's kind of a callback to that. He's the Cub character.
Yeah, that was a manga.
Yeah, and it was a number of things. I think it was also a play and stuff like that in a book.
Okay.
And his Monkey Chi was a nice touch.
That reminded me of Speed Racer.
Yeah, it did.
Was that a play off of that? I wonder.
I don't know.
An homage to that?
I don't know.
Pretty funny, I guess.
It was pretty ridiculous, but also fantastic.
Although Speed Racer was not an anime, was it?
I think you would consider
it. Or was it
an
a
anime.
Hanna-Barbera cartoon? I honestly do not know.
That's a great question.
I think it was an anime. I'm pretty sure it was an anime.
I think it was, yeah. So on the villain side, you have Harley Quinn, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Deathstroke, Two-Face, and Bane. Did you remember that Bane was in the film? He only has one scene in the whole film, and he doesn't have any English-speaking lines, or he doesn't really have any. He just says disco. I forget what he says. I think it's a Japanese word. But I don't know. He's a really minor character.
They kind of sold him short.
Yeah, for sure.
You think that he would have been one of the feudal lords try to take over Japan with how smart he is.
Yeah, I mean, the design is cool. It's cool that he's a sumo. But he was really minor. He didn't need to be in the film at all. The rest of the villains are kind of there to serve as really just kind of combatants for the Bat family. Yeah, in the final fight. And be pawns of Gorilla Grodd. Though the Catwoman Harley Quinn matchup seemed to be a little bit more personal than some of the others.
Yeah.
Nightwing versus Penguin or Red Hood versus Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Those are all the characters in the film. So moving on to the plot, things start really fast. It's in the middle of a fight between Gorilla Grodd and Batman at Arkham Asylum, and we see Catwoman slinking around, but that's about it before the Timequake device activates, and the entire asylum warps into some kind of singularity that pulls them into feudal era Japan.
That was a cool little scene because
it was a great opening.
Yeah, Batman shot his grappling hook and he latched onto the device going through time and kind of pulled him through. Just stylistically, visually, it was a great start to this visual spectacle.
And it makes sense that, like he sort of appeared before everyone else because he was like sort of like outside of the bubble and had to shoot his way in and then run across like the warping building and dive into it. Yeah. So, it was pretty cool. So Batman is attacked early on by the Joker's soldiers and realizes that his technology won't work in this environment.
Yeah, because there's no satellites or anything.
There's no satellites, and the opening scene when he throws down the smoke grenade and like he like aims his grappling hook up to the sky and there's nothing there. I thought that was just fantastic cinematic storytelling, where you clearly right off the bat you understand he's out of his element,
right?
He's surprised to find out that the Joker is the lord of the local city-state, and the two battle before Batman is forced to flee. And that treetop fight was pretty cool, I thought. It reminded me of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I thought it was kind of just a funny, kind of quirky Japanese moment when like the Joker just sits down and like drinks water, as Batman is still like dodging all the fans.
Yeah.
During his escape, he meets Selina Kyle, and the two piece together which of his allies and which of the villains are there, and that he's shown up 2 years after everyone else, that the villains have become these warring feudal lords uninterested in preserving the timeline. That was a great moment, I thought, with like the 3D animation and like those like statues.
Oh
of the
god,
villain.
that was so amazing.
That was really cool.
The statues themselves, the designs on them were just out of this world.
I want those statues.
Yeah, they look really cool. One of the joys of watching this film is seeing how they adapt the costumes of each character to this time period. And so that whole scene where you're looking at all the different villains in their now feudal get-ups, it was just a great kind of like rush for that joy that you're getting of seeing these adaptations, because you got to see all the different ways that like Poison Ivy and the Penguin and Two-Face and Deathstroke, how they would look in this setting. It was pretty cool.
I think my favorite was probably Deathstroke. He just has a cool aesthetic to him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What did you think of, like the Joker's design?
The Joker's design was pretty cool. His little mustache kind of got on my nerves.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I thought he looked kind of like a Japanese demon kind of character. You know what those look like? They have like the long noses and the tall faces and like the pointy chins kind of, and the wide mouths. It was perfect for this character.
Yeah. He had a lot of like mouth and teeth motifs going on in his designs.
Yeah.
That were like, you don't notice them right off the bat, but like, you slowly start to like take in everything and just like fully appreciate the designs of all these characters.
Yeah.
So while Bruce and Selina are disguised as missionaries, Alfred surprises Bruce with some black tea and the Batmobile. So Batman has the Batmobile, the Joker's soldiers ambush them, and Batman takes the fight straight to the Joker in his Batmobile, which was such an awesome scene.
Yeah, and in this moment, that's when Joker first activates his castle's like arms.
Yeah.
And so you have the Batmobile, and he's like swerving through the streets and driving out to him, but it gets picked up by the castle, and the castle's about to crush the Batmobile.
The castle has like this giant arm and hand.
Yeah, but out of the hand shoots out the Batplane.
Yeah.
So it's like the middle section of the Batmobile shoots out, and then it sprouts wings. Yeah, and then it's the Batplane.
Yeah.
So then he's able to fly up to the castle, and then all of a sudden, what happens to that?
The Joker gets him in like these like chopstick skewers.
Chopstick skewers, yeah, that's right, through the wings.
Yeah.
And then he ejects the wings, and it becomes the Bat Cycle, which he rides right up into the Joker's room.
Yeah. This whole scene, like, I can't tell you, like, when I first saw it, how I just, like, was squealing with joy at how cool this was.
Yeah, Batman's devices were super cool. It reminded me of the scene from The Dark Knight when the Batmobile gets destroyed, but then it ejects
the Batpod.
The Batpod, the Bat Cycle. But this is just like that, except it goes from the Batmobile to the Batplane, and then it ejects the Bat Cycle. And then even later on, when he has to leave Joker's room to go save this woman who's about to be crushed by the castle, he's going down in his motorcycle, and he gets attacked by Bane. The Bat Cycle that he's riding like folds around him like a transformer.
Yeah.
It's a suit of armor. So
it's like I would totally want to see that like in the comic books. I want that to be like a real thing.
I want it, like, that would be cool if it was a toy, a Batmobile that turned into a Batplane, that turned into a Bat Cycle, that turned into a suit of armor for Batman.
Oh my gosh, I would sell my house to buy that toy.
What sucks is that as cool as that technology was, it gets destroyed right away, because that's kind of one of the themes of the movie, is that technology is inferior to connection to nature and family and
your
friends.
Inner self and stuff like that. In the armor, Batman dispatches Bane like in one move, And then he, goes to save the lady, and it turns out to be Harley.
Yeah.
The suit ejects him, and Harley straight up disables Batman with her mallet, which was painful to watch. And, Joker and Harley are gloating over him. But then Batman is saved by a ninja Bat Clan, led by the ninja Aeon, with whom Nightwing, Red Hood, and Red Robin have been staying.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently they foretold of the coming of an outsider dressed as a bat who would save them.
He was like part of a prophecy or something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, he specifically was. That's sort of more fully explained in the English version. But
really?
I think it was. You got the gist of it in the Japanese version.
Yeah.
In the Bat Clan village, Batman receives a message from Grodd, and the two meet up in this like bathhouse.
Yeah. And Gorilla Grodd wants to see Batman naked.
Yeah, that was. That dialogue wasn't in the English version.
He's like, we should bear all to each other inside of this bathhouse. And he's like, Batman's like, no, bud. I'm good. I'm good right here.
And Grodd is like, I'm mostly naked.
Hey, I'm naked.
I'm bearing all the time. No, those lines weren't in the English version. They meet and they talk and they set up this plan to capture the Joker and the Timequake machine, which the Joker has. Because the Joker has Arkham Asylum. He turned Arkham Asylum into his palace, his castle.
Yeah.
And they're successful in their plan, which was a really cool plan, like out on this, I don't know if it was the ocean or a lake. The waves were pretty calm, so I'm assuming it was a lake.
Yeah.
But it was a cool scene where they trick the Joker into shooting dummy ninjas in the water. They team up and they capture
have a submarine for some reason. I don't know why Ninja Clan would have a submarine.
Because ninjas are fucking badass.
But they didn't have access to the same technology that
It wasn't anything like modern tech. It was a boat essentially on top of like this boat kind of ship. It wasn't like made of metal or anything.
But it was still able to completely submerge.
It was able to fully dive. It's part of the ninja, dude. It's part of the legend of the ninja. They're deceptive.
If you say so. Yeah.
Once they do capture the Joker, Grodd betrays Batman along with Catwoman with the help of Two-Face. And the Joker blows up himself, Harley, and Batman while they are the last ones on the ship.
Yeah, that was a pretty extreme moment because you really think that that Batman and the Ninja Clan have the upper hand, and you realize that they were the ones being played the fools.
Yeah. I love how like badass the Japanese animators sort of made and storytellers made Aeon. Like the one Japanese character, the lead ninja of the Bat Clan, when Grodd tries to mind control them, he's basically just like, we are you cannot touch our ninja hearts. Our minds are.
I thought that was lame. That doesn't make any sense. So like,
I think it was them making their Japanese character just a total badass.
I didn't like the Ninja Clan whatsoever. Honestly,
really
like they weren't developed at all. I didn't care anything about them. They barely participated.
But if you didn't have them, you wouldn't really have any Japanese characters in the film.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It would have been nice actually if they would have had actually shown a little bit more of like the people that live in this village that they're fighting around or something.
Yeah.
Like they're just blank faces for the most part.
Yeah, except for the Bat Clan. And like even those character designs, like they could have all just been like ninjas, but they weren't. Like you had characters like Aeon, and you had these other nameless characters who had interesting designs. We never learned the name of them, but you kind of get the idea that they're not just these nameless people. They were nameless, but there was a story there a side of the story that we never got, I think. So by the end of this, Grodd is in possession of the Timequake machine, but he still needs the power converters from Penguin, Poison Ivy, and Deathstroke. Grodd lets them finish the construction of their palaces, after which he sends messages that they'll do battle to gain control over each other's power converters and regions once they're done, which kind of gives Batman time to recover in the Bat Clan village and, express his remorse that partnering with a villain like Grodd resulted in the death of so many Bat Clan ninjas.
He partnered with Grodd because he didn't trust his lack of technology. He thought he needed some kind of edge to go up against the Joker, and he realizes that he really should have just leaned on the strength of the Ninja Clan and of his family.
And of the time period. And its advantages, or realizing that it has advantages.
Yes.
He learns that he needs to adapt to the way of the ninja to survive, and he and his team train and strategize until he locates Red Hood and Amnesiac, Joker, and Harley, farmers, in that really cool like middle segment.
That was such a great scene, especially the very end,
Yeah.
where the farmer and his wife are so excited that something has sprouted, that they were able to actually grow something on this soil.
They're just
And
like weeping and hugging.
they're weeping and hugging.
And it's so not Joker until like the last seconds.
Yeah, in the last few seconds, all of a sudden, the farmer smiles this big wide smile, and he wipes like this, like, I don't know if it's like a bloody nose or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But he wipes it across his mouth, and you get like that Joker smile, and then it turns out that the plant that they grew was actually the Joker toxin plant.
Yeah. It's funny because, you know, like Eastern tropes are different from us. So, you know, when we show someone sleeping, we show like Z's coming out of their head. You know, and in Japan, you know, when they want to show someone sleeping, they do like a nose bubble that comes out.
Yeah, snot bubble.
Yeah, when a character is super lusty, they give them a bloody nose. And it was so interesting at the end of this, like, you know, when the farmer and his wife are crying, and they're just so happy, and the Joker is just so turned on, his nose bleeds, and he just smears the blood across his mouth, and then he starts laughing so maniacally. It's like heartbreaking almost.
Yeah, almost.
Because like, you really felt like the Joker had changed, and it's like, holy shit. You know, if Batman buys it, I buy it too.
Yeah.
You know, did you recognize them as Joker and Harley right away?
Yes.
I didn't. I don't know if it was because of like the animation style and like the coloring of it, but I didn't recognize, like, I saw that he had green hair, and I didn't recognize that Harley had blonde hair until I realized like what was going on.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't make that connection right off the bat. Again, it was heartbreaking when it turns out that they were back to their old evil selves, because you really felt for them, for this farming couple. Yeah. It was a very intense, emotional scene, and the animation was really good. So, you know, a month goes by, and the villains mobilize their giant robot palaces to battle beneath Mount Fuji. And they have like these really awesome Japanese names, like Limitless Blossom Flower Castle, and like I forget Cannon Fire
Castle or something.
Yeah. They were pretty cool. Batman, he suits up, and he leads the Bat Clan to the battle, where Grodd pretty easily defeats the other villains just by like spinning them around and throwing them into each other, which was pretty cool. Some of like the Two-Face castle was really cool. It was like that sort of like Hindu like statue.
Yeah, with the multiple arms.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, again, Grodd defeats them, and he takes mental control over them to form one super giant robot that is immediately taken over by the Joker and Harley, which was interesting. Batman saves the lives of Catwoman and Grodd, and the latter of which returns the favor and gives Batman a flute that he uses to control monkeys.
You have to imagine what strategy the ninjas and Batman had come up with to defeat this giant super castle if he didn't already have Gorilla Grodd's flute. It was kind of convenient that Grodd gave him the weapon essentially to be able to fight the castle.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, they say what their
robot.
strategy was when, you know, like before all of this happened, they're, you know, sipping tea, and they start to feel the rumble of the giant machines. You know, Batman tells them they have these machines, but they're still like piloted by these like insane people, and so that's what we're going to attack. We're going to attack the people, and I think their plan was essentially to glide into the towers where the villains were and take those out. But everything was kind of thrown for the loop once the Joker showed up. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, Robin uses the flute that they got from Grodd with his Monkey Chi, and Monkey Chi's girlfriend was...
Yeah, what was up with Monkey Chi?
Momoko or something like that.
Where did she come from? All of a sudden, the monkey had a girlfriend.
Don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it.
It was like out of left field, and like, I don't know. They had...
Well, even Red Robin, it was like, who's this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something only Robin knows about. And, you know, they use the flute to create a colossal fighting figure made of monkeys that, again, looks like a Funko Pop, I thought. And then, you know, the bats controlled by the Bat Clan merge with the monkeys to form a giant, like, old school Detective Comics #1 Batman figure.
I thought that was cool. Yeah, he had the mask that Batman wore in his very first
like Bill Finger's
appearance.
Depiction of him.
Where like the bat ears, they kind of come out of the side of the head, and they look more like horns as opposed to like pointy bat ears. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, the Batman figure, you know, defeats the super giant robot, or at least it knocks it out. Batman's allies defeat the other villains, while Batman and Joker have a one-on-one final samurai fight sword match. Yeah. I thought the Bat Family matchups they came up with were pretty cool.
It was Catwoman versus Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Nightwing versus, I want to say Penguin. Mm-hmm. Robin versus Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
It was Deathstroke versus Red Hood. And
the two gun-wielding guys.
Yeah, Robin versus Two-Face, I think it was. Did I get that right?
It was Red Robin versus Two-Face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Batman goes up against the Joker. And they have this sword fight on top of the remains of the castles.
Yeah, the Batman Joker fight was incredible. The other fights, you didn't really even see them.
No, they had one kind of super cut of the fight. Red Robin would swing his sword, and then it just kind of segues to the next scene where Robin is fighting Poison Ivy. So they do show them the initial start of the fight, and then it kind of takes steps towards them showing that they're defeating those guys. But really, the main set piece here was Batman versus the Joker on the rooftops, just swinging swords, and
this is my second favorite part of the film.
Fantastic, yeah, totally. It was a fantastic fight scene. Just the animation style. I remember one scene where they're just staring each other down, and this cloud of smoke goes by. Then all of a sudden you see the sparks of their swords, just rapid fire sparks
within the cloud,
within the smoke.
Yeah,
fantastic. Just really cool to watch.
There was a great moment where Batman lost his sword, and then Joker went to stab him, and he did that cool move where you sandwich the sword's blade between your hands.
Yeah,
and use your strength.
Then he uses his palm to break the blade in half.
Yeah, but then Joker ends up still stabbing him. Right?
Yeah, Batman throws him to the ground, and Joker lands on the broken half of his sword, and so he throws it at Batman, and it gets him right in the chest.
But then all of a sudden Batman's able to turn into bats.
Yeah, using his supernatural ninjutsu skills, he turned into a swarm of bats and defeats the Joker. But the Joker throughout this whole thing was just so evil looking. He slowly got more evil looking and more crazed as the fight went on.
The more beat up he got.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. It's a really cool depiction of the Joker, I thought. And just seeing Batman actually, the Joker's stripping Batman of his armor, because he goes into the battle more like a samurai than a ninja, I think.
Yeah.
He becomes ninjutsu, or I guess ninja Batman, officially, in the title card that pops up. He's not wearing his samurai armor anymore. He's much more streamlined. It's just a really cool look. So by the end of the film, Batman and his allies return the villains to their proper time, restoring feudal Japan. And during the credits, illustrations show that the villains are turned over to Commissioner Gordon. Mm-hmm. In a mid-credits scene, Catwoman sells these feudal-era Japanese artifacts for a pretty hefty sum. And Bruce Wayne drives to a party with Gotham's mayor, because I guess they returned to the exact time that they had left, in a horse-drawn Batmobile.
Which is dumb, because he's dressed as Bruce Wayne. If anything solidifies the whole tongue-in-cheek aspect of this entire movie, it's that a lot of this is not meant to be taken seriously.
Right, exactly.
Compared to the other DC animated films like Under the Red Hood or Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
This is pretty jokey.
Yeah, those two titles that you just mentioned are super serious. They take Batman super seriously. This one does not. This one has fun with it. And we were asked recently if we would go back and change any of our previous reviews. And I think for the most part, maybe some Netflix shows we would downgrade. But I think for the most
Iron
part,
Fist season 1 and probably Luke Cage season 1, I would go down half a star.
Yeah. The one movie that you had mentioned we would probably change would be Lego Batman.
Right.
And you're probably right on that. I hate to sort of just go with the crowd, because when I watched it, I really liked it. But watching it again over time and seeing what other films I compared it to on a 4-star scale, it probably should have been 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
But then again, I feel like I could sort of appreciate other versions of these characters. I think I just can't help but appreciate them. And I think
you can't help but be a fanboy.
It's in a way, maybe. But I don't know, maybe I'm not fanboy enough because I'm not fully dedicated to this one version of Batman that everyone else sort of seems to be fully on board with. And to me, I think Batman is much more of a looser concept.
Just an archetype.
I think his archetype fits more stories than I think most people, I guess, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I think it's just been so long that we've seen a definitive version of Batman on screen that people are hungry for that.
Yeah.
We've had Lego Batman, we've had this Batman Ninja, and I do think that the definitive version actually is Ben Affleck's Batman, but he hasn't got his own solo film, you know?
And even then, that version kills,
Right, exactly.
So it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
He's sort of in a state of flux right now, and I think, you're right, probably right. People are yearning for a definitive version of the character. But no, when I first watched this film, I loved it. And I still really love it. And I was like, is this a 5-star film? Because I just accepted it for what it was. And I was like, there was, if you do that, there's no faults with the film. It is. It's
You
very
could almost
Japanese.
say that about any film.
You could, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But no, I had a really hard time trying to decide what I would grade this film as. Ultimately,
not easy, yeah.
Ultimately, I decided that the Japanese version was a 4-star film. But you also can't ignore the fact that the English version exists, and it is inferior. So that knocked down my rating to a 3.5.
I think it's fine to be as subjective with your feelings as the film as you want, but when we give the score its rating, it's best to be as objective as possible because it's just a quick little snapshot of how good the film actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we came up with a rating system specifically for like moments like this where we have trouble deciding what we're going to rate it.
Yeah. I think quality-wise, Batman Ninja has a lot going for it. Right. I think the plot is a little bit patchwork, and that may be due to maybe some things lost in translation or just the way
a Western interpretation of the story.
Eastern storytelling tropes may be interfering there. But yeah, I give it a 3.5 stars as well.
And how do we describe a 3.5 star? What makes a 3.5 star film a 3.5 star film?
So for us, a 3.5 star film is described as a good film. It has the right intentions for the characters involved and definitely succeeds as a piece of entertainment. It may suffer from 1 or 2 minor issues, but not cripplingly so. And I think that defines this movie to a T.
I think that's a more than fair description of this film.
Yeah. So 3.5 stars is what we give it. I do recommend the film. I do recommend you see it, especially if you're a fan of Batman and the characters.
And anime.
And even anime. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like this is not one of the best animes.
This is not like mind-blowing anime. Like, what I'm a fan of, like what I mentioned at the top of the review.
It's like popcorn anime.
But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That does it for that review. If you guys have seen Ninja Batman, go ahead and write into us and let us know what you thought of it. We've already had Mark 1684 write into us. He went and saw the film, and he thought it was fire. So I'm glad that he was a fan of it, because I always hate to recommend people watch things that they end up hating or something like that. But I think if you're a fan of the characters, you'll like this film. In our next episode, kind of playing off this whole Batman theme, it'll be a duel episode, and we're going to discuss who's going to win in a fight between Nightwing and Daredevil.
Yeah, I think it kind of is good timing, not only with the Ninja Batman movie, but, like the Teen Titans Go trailer that just came out. If that is Dick Grayson, I think it is. We have a Dick Grayson match now, a Nightwing match. Right. And I think he's a perfect match for Daredevil.
They're both acrobatic. They both have billy clubs.
They're both street level heroes.
Yeah.
It should be fun. Should be good times.
So tune in next week for that episode. Don't forget that this Thursday, the 10th, we'll be releasing our bonus episode on Patreon where we count down the top 10 Marvel and DC film scores of all time. Mm-hmm.
And share us with your friends, not only this episode, but also, if you are a patron of ours, let them know of the awesome content that we share there, because not everyone gets to experience that.
Right. Don't forget, you can visit dynamicduel.com to visit links to all of our social media sites as well as our merch store. Also, don't forget about Wolverine the Long Night. All of those 10 episodes are out right now, and you could just binge them in each episode is like half an hour long, so you could binge it in 5 hours if you want to, using our promo code DUEL, DUEL, when you go to stitcher.com/premium.
And that'll give you a whole month for free.
Right.
So that's plenty of time to listen to the episodes.
Yeah, and there's lots of other great content on Stitcher Premium for you to access as well. Thanks again for everyone that came out and talked to us over at Free Comic Book Day at Mile High Comics.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun meeting new fans and introducing people to it, and meeting some people who were familiar with our podcast. And it's always nice to hear some fan appreciation.
Yeah.
And before we close out the episode, just another quick reminder: if you have any questions you want to send our way, you could call us at 303-736-9963. We won't answer the phone because it's a Google voicemail number, but you can leave it there, and we'll play it during our Patreon bonus episode at the end of the month.
Yep. Remember that carrier rates may apply.
Maybe.
Is that how you're supposed to say that? I don't know.
I don't know. I think most phone plans now have unlimited long distance. So.
Okay.
So, that's it. That's the episode. Up, and away.
True believers.